A few years ago, I went to New York for Easter to visit friends. And the week leading up to Easter Sunday, we went to a number of events, one of which was a procession in Brooklyn being held by a Franciscan Brotherhood of monks. And this was a new tradition where they would carry a large wooden cross, the size of a man, around this particularly poor and deprived area of Brooklyn where they lived and worked. And just before the procession started, you were given the opportunity to take a red pen and write your name on the cross, or the name of someone you were praying for, or even an issue that you wanted to give to God. The usual busyness of the day slowed and quiet descended as we walked in procession around this neighbourhood. The stillness was occasionally punctured by a holler of "Praise Jesus! Hallelujah!" by members of the evangelical community in that area. I felt really proud to walk behind that cross, even though I had nothing to do with this community and I was just a foreigner, a stranger to this part of New York and these people. The significance of that event wasn't missed. It reminded me of a time earlier on in my life, actually when I was a very young teenager. I grew up in a town called Battle in East Sussex, and I went to the local Baptist church with my mum and dad and my brother. And this particular Sunday, our church had worked alongside other churches to hold a combined march up and down the high street, carrying banners that read, "Make way." Now these were the days of rainbow guitar straps, tambourines, and "Shine Jesus Shine." So to be seen on this march as a young teenager was social suicide. I remember there is a large abbey, if you've ever been to Battle, there's this huge abbey at the bottom of the high street, dating back to the days of the Norman invasion. And me and my brother actually hid in the battlements of this abbey, hoping not to be seen by friends or people at school. I mean, what about the symbolism of that moment? It's terrible, isn't it? One of the hardest parts of the crucifixion story for me is that moment when Peter, Jesus' friend, his brother, lets him down so terribly. Just as Jesus had predicted he would do so, he denies him. Peter denies Jesus whilst he's suffering a violent interrogation just meters away. We know, don't we, that 3 days later Jesus rises again and he reveals himself to his friends, to his disciples. I could just imagine how Peter felt in that moment as he shuffled rather uncomfortably in his shoes, wondering where to look. But rather than discipline him, punish him, admonish him, Jesus empowers him. "You are Peter. On this rock I build my church." We know, don't we, that Peter went on to be the most amazing leader amongst the disciples. The Catholic community believe that Peter was their very first pope. He is the head of the church. I'm so encouraged by this story. I'm encouraged that God doesn't ask for perfection before we're of some value to him. There is no archetypal Christian that we must first become before he can use us. In fact, despite my weakness, perhaps even because of my weakness, I'm of value to God. Easter time causes me to reflect on my walk with God. Am I still hiding in the battlements, hoping not to be seen? Or am I walking behind the cross with my head held high? In truth, I'm probably waver between both of those. But I am encouraged to know that despite my weaknesses, despite my failings, that thanks to the grace of God and the sacrifice on the cross, I'm considered worthy. Praise Jesus. Hallelujah.